And we are live. All right. So I'm checking right now. I got to check the resolution on this. We'll see how we look now that we're live.
Oh, it actually looks pretty good on the real one.
All right. Let me.
Not too bad.
There's so many windows to go to. Wait. Oh, wait, volume. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's good. All right. What I always forget the Twitter handle of everyone. Mechfrog12. There we go.
Mechfrog 12, yep.
All right. And that's one thing I learned with emails. Like before, it would be like obscure number dash, like some word. And then I'm like, wait, no one ever can remember that, So I was like, wait, if I'm doing business, be like, I would try to find like 2 or 3 words that, you know what I mean, that go together for an email that wasn't taken on like Outlook or something.
And it's all about branding these days. You got to have that consistent name across platforms.
Yeah, that's very true. I had to get. I got Artist Empire like a long time ago, right? I think this like the Twitter is like, I don't know, like 2012 or something. I had it, I don't even know, like 10 years or something or like 6-7 years. I had it before I even was like, I knew I wanted the name, and so I was like, that's how long ago I like got the name for a lot of the stuff. But I didn't get it on Instagram. And I was like, that's why on Instagram and was it Facebook? It's Artist Empire Art.
Did somebody else grab it?
Yeah, they had it for like probably a while. But like what was a bummer, even I had contacted them because I believe they even stopped like using it. You know what I mean? I was like, well, if you're not going to host, like, help a brother out.
Yeah. Well, I was going to paint this elemental, but hit him with a purple wash about an hour ago, and I even set him outside in the heat, hoping that it would dry, but it didn't quite get there.
Are these plastic? So they're Mantic game miniatures,
right.
And then plastic, or are they resin, or is it a mix, or like the pieces plastic and the other one's resin? Do you know?
It's a mix. So some of the figures I've gotten, I got the starters, the 2-player starter set with the Ratkin and the Goblins, and that box also has a mixture of plastic. Most of the basic figures, the kind of grunt figures, are plastic, and then a couple of the characters are resin. So I think they're kind of still in the transition between the two.
Yeah,
I would guess. The Earth Elemental here is resin, and these Goblins are plastic.
Okay. All right. Do you remember what you paid for that Mantic starter set?
Oh gosh, no, not off the top of my head. It was
no worries. Just because
it was less than 100.
Oh, okay, all right. They get some of those because I've been seeing that the prices on them, and they do seem like significantly cheaper than some other ones. I was like, okay, that seems like it's like you can convince yourself to do it when you're getting a better deal. That's how I always get caught in that. Like if someone's good, you're like, all right, I'll think about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trade-off. Someone else, I got it for $90.
Okay.
Before tax, so it's pretty good. Just pretty large amount of figures that'll keep me busy for a while. But it's a little bit of a trade-off. The details not as high as you'd expect from some of the larger manufacturers, but you can tell the plastic ones are getting better. So it's an upward trajectory.
And I know. That's what I noticed. I seen like their elf, or not elf, when the halflings, they're having some new sculpts, and I was looking at those. It's like, all right, you can see it's that forward trajectory. I'm like, yeah, they're getting a lot, more detail in those, and like the poses I was really digging on like a lot of the halflings. So I'm pretty sure it's like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of these, I guess you have to do it with everything these days, but they are like pushing the quality. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's trying to up their game, and I think
that's a great thing.
Yeah, miniatures in general had a little resurgence, especially with the whole COVID thing. So it's kind of I guess now's the time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people looking for new things, especially this past week or so. So looking for new games out there and trying new stuff. So it's good. If Mantic can take advantage of that, then that's great.
They got God, this was so cool. And one of these I was gonna talk all about. Oh wait, I don't even have chat up or anything. I'm not even paying attention to anything. Hey X, thanks for making it.
Brass horse, nice.
Oh, he said he has a Hotmail. Yeah, I didn't have a Hotmail back then. I had like, I think, what's the other one? Or no, what, it was Hotmail. Yeah, it was Hotmail, not Outlook. So yeah, I did have the some of the Hotmail. I don't even know if I still have like a Yahoo from. I
Yeah, I
don't know
still
how
have a
long ago
Yahoo that I
Yahoo
use.
was.
Yeah, I still have a Yahoo that I use for like random like commercial stuff, like
Well,
signing up for stuff.
yeah, that's the thing. What I found is, so okay, like me doing this stuff, right? I'll have the different things like I have like a Shopify, and then you have your websites, and then you have, some of the software you buy and all this stuff. So I got quite a bit of things, plus like my other, like what other regular work, plus like personal stuff. But you don't want to sign up. It's like I literally need like 10 different emails because like I've people. I was like, oh, I'll get a contact email for Artist Empire, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
when I do that, I'm like, oh, okay, I want commissions coming through here. But then if I sign up and buy something, I kind of don't necessarily want to use that email. And then if I put that email on the website, I don't want to just put it out there in case like some spammer gets a hold of it. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, so then I was like, well, I'll make a second one for Artist Empire. So it's just like so many emails with like different things. It's just kind of crazy these days. This was a great photo right here. You set it on here, and that's all back to everything where I was talking about like composition. This, if it was painted, two things. It's got incredible. Let me show you the shading, just so anyone's watching this or shadow. So this shadow right here is really cool, and same with these in here. It gives that all depth. And so I saw that and I was like, oh man, you'd get that nice light from above and it would accentuate the dark underneath there. And then you still have the top has the crystals coming up. So you would still get some nice, you could light them nice and shine them all in a paint over and everything. And then you got it has that good diamond or triangle type composition. So you can that's like a always useful one when you have some nice like dynamic triangle. God, it makes me want to
Yeah,
paint
I think
some
it's
over.
looking forward to getting the elemental painted just because it's going to look so good. Like
What
once
are
you
you
get
doing
the
with the
crystals,
crystals? What are you
I'm
gonna
gonna
do?
make them obsidian, so they'll be black, but then a really shiny black with a almost a blue edge on them,
Okay,
so they'll look like volcanic glass.
interesting. I was looking at all the goblins. How many goblins did you get roughly in that box?
They're 40 in here.
Oh my gosh, seriously? In that one box?
Yes, this
All
is just the
right.
first 10,
Wow. Okay.
and you can equip them in 3 different ways. You can give them bows or like miscellaneous weapons or spears. So I'm
Huh.
gonna split it.
I'm gonna have to look at the I've been and mostly I didn't even like read the rules yet, so I got a couple. They sent me some PDFs from Mantic
Mm.
when I was since I got some of the commission work, so I can get more familiar with it. And I mostly was looking at the Dead Zone and a few other things, but I was reading more of the lore. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I wanted to get in touch with the world, and I read a little more on Kings of War, but I never looked at any of the rules quite yet. So it's like one of the things I got to look up. I am the one that has me, I think, the most curious. I think it was the Dead Zone because they had that thing where you just move into the area, but you don't have to. And then once you're in a certain area, you can just put the miniature wherever you want. So you move they're like bigger squares, and I'm just kind of curious about some of the gameplay because I think that gets rid of the fact of you don't have to use a tape measure or something for it.
Mm.
So I was kind of curious, with what, and I haven't played any of these in quite a while, you know, so I'm just curious how some of them play out.
Yeah, looking into the Kings of War, it's very positional, like um, where it matters where you're facing and can impact
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's has some similarities to like old,
Yeah, the
kind of
rank and
older
flank, like
games.
the
Yeah.
old world Warhammer type stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to get it up and going, get my son playing. Gonna
I
use him
know.
as my
That's like the
guinea
best.
pig on the kitchen table.
What's funny is like my dad's age, they'd have like a kid and you'd be to work. Like I would have a kid and be like, "Come on, let's. I want someone to play games with."
Yeah. Oh, the pamper generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent most of my weekends out in the yard pulling weeds and doing yard work, and my son and like I spend most of my time trying to get him to do fun stuff. Like
Yeah,
he
I
still he
know.
still works. He still works. He does a lot of stuff around the house, but
It, it's so
definitely a
hard
different
these
life.
days. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what's funny is you think of, you know, like if you were a young kid, and I mean, it happens now too, but I mean, more so back then. Like, if you were just some young kid and you grew up on a farm, you were working like every day anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you were working a full-fledged job as a kid.
And my mom has stories growing up on an orchard and driving a tractor when she was about
Hmm.
8. Like I would not trust my son on a tractor, and he's 12.
Yeah, yeah, and there no, and there's just a difference, you know what I mean, and I think a lot of that. Anytime you could, you know, someone who's younger, even old, you know, teach them a skill, and like, I think too when you're young, it almost like then they just think it's normal, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I gotta do stuff. What is this?
Different world. What got you into gaming?
Oh, you know what? That was so long ago. So I was probably it's like the 70s, right? So it's literally, yeah, it was probably the 70s at the time, like right late 70s. And anytime I would say that, you know, I went and ended up seeing like the original Star Wars and stuff like that. So anytime that, and I can't remember if it was like Star Wars or Dungeons and Dragons first. I think it was Dungeons and Dragons. And as soon as I saw that like art stuff and I was like, oh, this is like some fantastic crazy world, you know what I mean? Like that was the
Mm-hmm.
just my imagination was like always triggered by that, you know. And I would read some of the stuff and, you know, read a lot of books, but it was like for me it was in particular like the visuals, you know, especially like the old Dungeons and Dragons modules, you know, they just have these quirky little like drawings and you just like imagine the story that was going on. And so you kind of get into that, and it's so wild to me that we're at this point where there is just you can go online and find unlimited amount of art and whatever, you know what I mean. Back then you had to like what you're like going to maybe like a library, or like then you try to find like some hobby shops that are like hours away
Mm-hmm.
just like figure something out.
Yeah, much more niche.
Yeah, yeah. And
I think
knowing, you know, oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to talk about my first game was I'm sure it's probably mid 1980s. That Texas Instruments computer
Oh yeah.
playing a game called Wumpus, which was like
Wait, say
a
it again.
Hunt the Wumpus,
Huh. I don't think I've
and
ever heard of that one.
it's pretty obscure. But you basically are exploring a dungeon and trying to avoid being eaten by this creature called the Wumpus. Very
Okay.
simple game, but yeah, that kind of kicked it all off with video games and eventually tabletop. A little downhill from there. We got that 286 computer in our house, and I was just loving it.
Yeah. When my cousin, I think it, I now I can't remember the name. So I think my cousin was the first one where I saw D&D books, and then it was also I forget right around 80 something, I can't remember. There was an old school game, it was called Telengard, and it was like literally made, it was like the first basically it was mocked up from D&D, and I think it used to be called D&D, but it was like the first video game for it. And my cousin was in college, and they would use it for a kind of like programming class, you know what I mean? And so then he passed me the tape before it was even like the game version of it, you know? So I had that, and I was able to get a Commodore 64 was my first one, you know? And then you like put that on like the tape deck, and it was like, oh my God.
You got some mechs on there. Nice. You know,
Yeah, I
figured
don't know.
sooner or later a BattleTech fan would find you and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna need
Yeah,
you to mock up
yeah.
some mechs for me."
This was someone, I forget who. Oh, Tabletop Minions shouted me out, and this person heard it from there and then contacted me. I'm always curious, you know, how do people come across it? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the little things like that sure do help, like especially with I do, because you got to get a lot of eyes on it before, you know, someone wants one, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, King Crimson.
BattleTech has a very, very devoted community, and so yeah, if you can get into contact with those guys, they start seeing your work, you'll definitely get
King
more.
Crimson, thanks for stopping by and hitting the like button. And you're off to work
Nice.
again. Yeah, man. I miss me some King Crimson. So have a good one at work, man.
Did I share my BattleTech story last time?
Which one? I
My
know you
bro-
did.
my my brother came home with the D&D books, and
Oh,
my parents did not like the D&D. That was
yeah,
kind of in the middle of that
yeah. The
fear
the
of
whole
demonic
yeah.
stuff.
I caught it from my parents too. There was like they're like, oh, I don't know. They got it. I had it, and then they heard about the whole Dungeons and Dragons scare, and we're like, I don't know if you should be with us. I'm like, please, I'm fine.
So they threw those books out, and then I'm not sure how we ended up with the BattleTech starter set, but the original BattleTech starter set ended up in the house, and then after that, it was just big stomping robots for
Yeah,
years. That was
that
our
was a good
our
game
game.
though. I played that one. I liked BattleTech. I mean, yeah, BattleTech. I was thinking Robotech, and I got flipped. But yeah, BattleTech was cool.
Played all the video games, MechWarrior 2, of course. And good times.
It seems like they had like when did BattleTech like come back out? Like 10, 15 years ago? Like it came back.
It's definitely had a resurgence in the past probably 10 years.
Okay.
The company that's escaping Catalyst got the IP to produce the books, and I think
Uh,
then they've been really pushing to revitalize things. They tried a new system called Alpha Strike, which I don't think really took off because
yeah.
a lot of Battle players like the complexity of the original one. But they show up at cons and they put in a lot of the work to keep people interested, for sure.
And paste. There we go.
Yeah, just did that. They did a big Kickstarter for the Clan Invasion box, and so that came out I think last spring,
Huh.
and so that's really exciting. Big, get a gigantic box in the mail and just full of BattleTech swag and
I know
all
someone.
those
There's really.
Gen X BattleTech players who have extra disposable income.
I think that is a real like I mean it obviously is, but it's dawning on me how you until you really go on the internet and you see how many people are like, yeah, I liked it as a kid, but now, you know, like they're at a phase in life and stuff where it's like they have a little more time maybe and a little more money and whatever. And so they're like, yeah, everyone's trying to like relive their childhood. I'm like, yeah, I don't feel so
Absolutely.
bad.
Yeah, I remember going to a local shop. It was called Games and Gizmos. We walked into the shop and saw the Warhammer, but they were with the metal figs at the
Yeah.
time, and it must have been the really small scale because the tanks were super tiny. But
Yeah.
I was just fascinated. Like, I want to do this, and my dad's looking at the prices, like, nope,
Yeah.
sorry, you can
Forge
buy
of
one
Ours,
mech.
thanks for swinging by. And yeah, you did. I thought he told me before he picked up a few battle mechs recently. He is a Forge. You are a mech guy.
I would love it if Catalyst released mechs at a larger scale. like a 72 mil scale would
Yeah.
be amazing. I would completely shift my painting to battle mechs, but right now the scale is so small that the detail is just not there.
Spook says, "Is it me or has it been a while since you last streamed?" I think it's been you. Well, I did skip a Sunday, but the Wednesday streams are pretty much always on. But thank you for making it this time. And what was I gonna say? Something about mechs, and then I lost it because I was watching the text go by. Why is this upside down? My thing didn't flip.
I have about probably 200 mechs in my garage somewhere.
Do you
My buddies who are
seriously?
all played, gave me theirs, their extra ones, so they're just sitting in a box waiting for someday when I can pull them out and repaint them all again. Because right now they're in a mixture of like 12-year-old style painting, which is dip and wipe off the excess type painting.
And I would agree with this. The BattleTech mechs is like Forge says he loves them not as much as Adeptus Titanicus, and that's one of the things I agree on. I think the Titanicus, those models in particular, are like just so epic on those. Like, and I think that's one thing where 3D printing is really gonna. You had mentioned scale, and I'm like, when they get to a point where, like, if say you had something that prints 28 millimeters, but you're like, oh wait, why don't I like? I could see someone printing Necromunda almost twice the scale just to have a bigger size game, you know. And then it's like, okay, if you could literally 3D print your pieces and 3D print your board pieces, then you can almost make it whatever size you want, you know.
Yeah, in my classroom, I had a gigantic scaled up Atlas mech that I painted in that I printed in pieces back when I had a 3D printer in my room. But it was, I think, about a 1.5 feet tall. And it took weeks to print each individual arm and leg and and the 2 pieces of torso. But it was awesome. Like,
Clan Ghost Bear for the win. I I forget what clan I. There was a couple that I liked, but it's like one of those things where when I started, like, I think when I was getting Battle Tech, I get all the names confused. Battle Tech, um, the I bought one of the box sets and it just came with the paper things, and I don't think they released the metal miniatures till later.
yeah, the original box came with the paper, and then they upgraded to plastic. But even
Okay.
then, the plastic
Oh,
ones
that's
were
what
pretty
it
expensive.
was. Yeah. And so I had that. So I never even like got the miniatures from it.
Yeah, Ral Partha was the company that sold the metal
Oh, that's
mechs, and
right.
it
It
was
was
separate from the
Relpartha.
original.
What happened to Relpartha? Did they get bought up by somebody or what? I don't even know
They
what.
either went out of business or got absorbed into something else.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I remember we'd sit down with the Ral Partha catalog and plan out how we're going to spend our money. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this mech costs $8. This one costs $6.50. If we align our money in this way, we can
Yeah.
get another mech out of it. Like, oh, it's good times.
And do any, okay, and does anyone know, like, they recently released that Sisters box, right? And I think we had talked about this. So I
Yeah,
saw some people commenting, and their viewpoints were totally valid to me. So like there was a couple people even in Discord who were like, "Hey, they released these before," and one of the things they brought up, like I personally, from someone who's not playing an army for it or trying to build an army for it. I love the look because you had like a big vehicle, which of course Rhino is one of my all-time favorites, but that's besides the point. You had the little walker, you had like flying units, you had standard units, you had crazy chainsaw units, plus you had some other group of units. So you like as a visual thing, you had this like great view of like all these type of units. So like a lot of times I would see like Space Marine boxes. I'm like, oh yeah, those are cool, but like all the Space Marines kind of look the same. You got, all right, here's a bunch of Space Marines, cool. Like this one visually has like a range to me. But what I
right.
found curious is I don't really know of any game companies that, okay, say you had a battle box, right? It's like, okay, this is basically, I don't know what, like 750 points of an army, and it's made specifically to kind of play other quote unquote like battle boxes. Like, hey, if you buy any one of these, they're kind of evenly matched up, and you can just play the game that way. As far as like, hey, you can add on to it, but I don't think anyone really does something like that. I can't think of any game that I've seen that's like, hey, you just buy this and then you can go fight right away with it. Maybe like starter sets come close, but I don't think they have, like, hey, you buy the starter sets, then you can just go buy these other boxes and then they're like, like an army good to go.
Mhm.
So I don't
No,
know.
it's a good way to push products. Like you want to get into the game, and that's a good entry point for it. The problem with the sisters box is you end up with a bunch of incomplete units,
Well, that's what
and then
someone
there's
said, and
really
that
no
kind of
way.
killed it for me because I was like, well, wait, right? Because even if I really like it, then what? Like, I gotta go buy a bunch of more stuff. I'm like, I wish I could just like, hey, give me that box, and then I'll go play with someone else who has like a Space Wolves box or something.
Right. Yeah, if you end up buying that, and then you want to expand that unit, you can go buy the full box of whatever that unit was, but now you're always going to have those
Mm-hmm.
three extra models that you won't have any way to deal with, like, because you can't buy
Yeah.
partial units unless you're buying things
Yeah,
off
yeah, yeah.
eBay.
You're always like odd man outing it, so that would be.
Overall, I mean, it's awesome that the starter box is out, and I dig that army a lot. I wouldn't want to paint one just because of all the trim, but
Yeah.
for people who want to take on that challenge, go for it. It's like same position on Chaos Marines. Like, they are
Oh
cool. I want
yeah,
to
I
paint one,
know.
but there's so much trim.
Well, that's what always with like orcs. I always love the look of orcs. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? On top of you just have to paint the whole numbers of it. They always have so much stuff.
At least with AdMech here, you could paint an AdMech army with a handful of colors and do it
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, Spook says in 10 to 15 years' time, we would probably have everyday 3D printers that would be able to make extremely large and extremely detailed models to rival AOS or Forge World. I kind of
Sure.
think you're right. So there's a printer, and I wish I remember the name of it. And Forge of Mars says painting trim. I mean, it's got his trim. The There's a 3D printer, and I forget which one it is, but it works by there's like it's basically dust, right? But it's little particles of plastic, and it lays down a little layer of them, like all in beads, but they're like micro beads, right? So it lays
Mhm.
down a layer, and then a laser melts only the areas it's going to print, and then it lays down another layer of powder, and the laser melts, and it lays so the whole layer is covered, right? So what it happens is they can stack it, and then you don't need supports. You can start printing like 20 layers up, whereas now you have to have a support and build up to that and then print. Because it's powder and it's perfectly like leveled, you can literally start building up in the air, you know what I mean? And
Mm.
they'll make fully articulated. He did, if you find it, it's Adam Savage and like a Batman glove. One of the things they did is they made a fully articulated Batman glove. When you took it out of the printer, you could put your hand in it and move all the joints. They literally printed chainmail with it. So you could print chainmail, and they were all interlocked and all loose just like regular printer. It wasn't a 3D printer, Spook. It's I'm almost gonna have to look it up now. It's plastic. No, it's not. No, Teflon. Is it Teflon? Not Teflon. There's a plastic with. I'm gonna go find this thing right now. Darn it! Hang on. This is bothering me now. I gotta switch screens.
Yeah, I think if they produce, you could come up with almost like a kill team type BattleTech
Yeah.
game where you have larger mechs and very small scale combat. And I would buy that until the death
Mm-hmm.
of the universe. I would just buy everything.
And someone's gonna work on a new model. Like I get why there's going to be someone who they're starting a company now and they're going to be like, well, we're not going to fight against 3D printing and everything. We're going to figure out a way to monetize it. You know what I mean? And they're going to go full throttle into here. And some are doing it now, but I think, as it gets bigger and bigger and some of those companies grow, they'll really, I don't know, just kind of innovate the space, I guess.
We're going to have to find a way to deliver a product that isn't the physical one.
Yeah. Get paid,
So
not get scammed.
Probably what Games Workshop's worried about at the moment.
All right, let me look up this. I want to find this video real quick.
Stupid gold mine.
Print. Savage 3D print Batman glove. Let me see if that gets me there.
Those Biotech fans have a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I have to look. I'm sure they gotta be making a lot of those minis somewhere. Some 3D sculptor's like, yeah, I'm banging out Robotech or Battletech figures.
When MechWarrior Online came back, the newest version before MechWarrior 5, people were dumping just tens of thousands of dollars into that game in the hope that it would be good.
Yeah.
Almost like a kind of a miniature version of Star Citizen. Wait, not Star Citizen. I forget the name of it. That game that made something like $200 million in crowdfunding.
Oh yeah, that one vast space game and all that. Yeah,
it's just about the same time.
Huh. Where is this printer? I'm going to have to find it later and I'll post it on my Twitter, but it's an amazing. What do we got here? I
really wish he had dried so I could have dry brushed him on camera.
That thing's big. I didn't know it was going to be that big.
He's got some weight to him too. It's not gonna.
Yeah, that resin. That's a chunky boy.
Not gonna fall over on the table.
I don't know how many points worth of stuff.
I do have the base done. Show off.
That's a big base.
That's good. 3 by 3, I think. How to tape measure. I have to start
open
this,
story.
and this guy
swinging by. Finally made.
This guy can be in 2 different armies too. I don't remember which ones. Like one of them's like an Earth type army, and the other one I think are the dwarves that can use the Earth elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-use.
I was playing with shirts. I have so long to go. I'm just like, do some and I want to throw some ideas down and then like create a master file or like, a bunch of like sketches that then I can go and look back and then see what I kind of like out of it. Because if I just go and try, I overthink the stuff too much. I went into some fun. What's funny is I will just start laughing as I work on these, and I guess it's all worth it for that. Because it's like, oh, dude, I'm gonna make a shirt that like started out just as like, it's all like the festering type thing. So it's gonna be like a Nurgle inspired, like with all the smoke. Don't have any creatures or anything in it. But like if you ran a Nurgle army, you might wear just like I don't even know what, like a whole like pustule shirt or like swamp gas corrosion thing. I don't even know. But I'm like, all right, just make some stuff, and if you think it's cool, but I get the entertainment value of just laughing. Like I'll be
Something
working on it the whole
something
time,
that'll
you
make
know.
the normies get physically sick when they see it on the street.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh
who?
God, what is that? Oh,
So
ugh.
I did one. I like this idea, but it'll take me a while to get there. Wait, where did I have it? Um, I like something. So this is the one that started it, and it's really rough now, but it, it would be okay. So you know how, and it's almost like the I always refer to that those old school Realm of Chaos books with the pencil thing. But so you imagine like the battlefield, and I have some of the banners still stuck up, and like the poles, and the maybe some people on them or some skulls, and then like so it's like a battlefield after the battle. Kind of like on the bottom, and it won't be super detailed. It's mostly like indicated, so it's kind of more like shadow and shade, and then you have the birds flying up, and then kind of like most of the shirt would kind of be like the sky. I won't have like this bright ass sunspot in it then, but you kind of get the kind of get that like the sun is behind all the dust and smoke and haze, so it's kind of you're in my mind it's like almost like a color gradient type shirt, but like with its little like kind of images in the back, so it's kind of like this battle scene, but you're trying to make it like a soft gradiated shirt. So I don't even know, I'm just like, just make some stuff that you get a kick out of making and go from there. Like who knows what, and I'm like, okay, people would wear some stuff, and I'm like, for gaming or whatever, if you're gonna get together and like play a game, you can have wear something. I don't know if people would like it, but you never know until you try.
As long as you don't wear the shirt of the band that you're going to see,
Yeah,
don't be that guy.
a Dune shirt would be cool.
Dude, shirt. Yeah, my son and I are really excited about seeing that. He watched the one that I don't know if it came out in the 70s or 80s, but the one that's kind of like the Dune movie that people knew for years.
Yeah, yeah.
He sat through that and kind of liked it. And he's finally of the age where he can watch some of these cool movies and
Oh
getting
yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
yeah. They gotta wait till they're a little older. This giant, I still, and one day I may take them and get some units that go with this photographed and put them walking with this thing. I still, every time I think of this, I'm like, man, I want the little units because this thing is so massive, and like have a bunch of foot troops walking behind this thing would be awesome. Axe Annex says nice long gaming shirts that go. Yeah, no doubt. Spook. Wait, are non-Nurgle players considered normies now?
Anyone who isn't blessed by by grandfather Nerdle, yes, of course.
But no, Forge. What's funny is I have it up, and I have it like on my TV, like saved under that whatever the YouTube thing, and I'll probably end up watching it before the new movie comes out. I am excited. I haven't been excited for a movie in a while, but that one does it.
That and the Ghostbusters, I'm kind of excited about.
I watched a on Netflix. There's a like movies we grew up with or something. I don't even know, but
Movies that made
they
us.
did one with the story behind how Ghostbusters got made and everything. So I watched one on Ghostbusters, and I watched one on Die Hard. That was actually an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. I like the commentary that Bruce Willis was seen as this comedy star and not
Yeah,
an action star. But I was young enough that I never knew him as a comedy guy until later.
yeah.
I never watched Moonlighting, so it's
I had seen him on Moonlighting, and then um, I think after that they said he had two movies, but they were not total bombs, but just nothing special. You know what I mean? And he was doing something, and then literally he was. Everybody turned it down, like all the Stallones and the you know everybody else. Like they went through the who's who of Hollywood, and none of them wanted it because in that movie, they're like in the script, it's like he's always just gets beat up. Like, you
Yeah,
know what I
he's
mean? He
he's the
doesn't.
everyman. Nobody wants to be
Yeah,
the everyman. He's a
and
tough
that's
action
what.
star.
Yeah, they kind of pulled that off with the everyman, and I didn't know it at that time. They were afraid. He was afraid he was risking a lot because they didn't know how it could go, and it was all that stuff. So they wanted a lot of money, but he got the highest paid, and he made $5 million for that, and it was like the highest paid movie actor in Hollywood. There, did not know that.
Worked out.
Let me see. Pull this up. I can't close that. 9 people watching. Thanks for joining us. A little Sunday. Who would figure the Sundays when a lot of people have off work is better than like a Wednesday at 2?
Well, I discovered yesterday posting a new video on YouTube. Like, oh, this is a really good one. I put a lot of effort into this one, and it's got nothing. Like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm never posting a video on Saturday ever again.
I it's so hit or miss, like, and so I read up on it, of course, and I'm like, yeah, I get it now. They You have to put like a lot of content out so that the algorithm kind of figures out what kind of stuff you do and who to feed it to, and it won't even really. The ones, I'm so small that it still feeds them out a little bit, but the ones it'll really feed out is when I and it only happened after a string of them where I was putting out these shorts, and that because they're promoting their shorts feature to compete with, like, Instagram or whatever, they feed those out more, and I got a lot of views from that, from some of those. So like they'll put one out, I'll get like 1,000 views, right, and then there'll be a couple that go out with like 16 views because the
I think my
algorithm doesn't push them.
best my best one was a short that was Ian Drosta with the rainbow wings. I think that one really got lots of play, which was nice.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that one.
Beast coating, good times. Shades of brown.
Oh, Spook, interesting point. I could see that. Zeech Riders.
Well, it's interesting to see like the knee-jerk responses to the Dune trailer, like people who don't understand the story and never read it, and they think that they thought it was like the opposite of what it actually was. It's definitely not glorifying colonization and that kind of thing.
I never I mean, see, that's the thing. When you're younger, like, I would watch some stuff. I never thought twice about a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like, especially for me, it was like a lot of it's just visuals. How's it look? Is that cool? Yay! So sometimes you get someone else's perspective.
Maybe figure it out before you drop your hot take.
Why wait? Always hot take.
Yeah.
It's the hot takes for
Social,
clicks.
social media for you. Got to get your opinion out there now, even if it's wrong.
I know. I really don't even have an opinion about much. One of the things, I think it was in that, what was it, Charlie Wilson's War, I think was the movie, and the one, I think he was a CIA dude. So Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I love as an actor, but like most of my thoughts on everything is summed up by his one where he's like, "We'll see." Like he tells the whole story about, oh, the kid fell off the horse and broke his leg. It's like the worst thing ever, and he's like, "We'll see." And then they were like, "Yeah, but now he went." they went to draft and he couldn't go on the draft because he had a broken leg. And it's like, isn't that the greatest thing ever? And he's like, we'll see. It was just like this little story about, everything kind of sounds great, but it's like, well, just wait till you see the final, tally at the end, I guess.
Mm.
Be surprised how things work out.
Yeah, things have a way of ending up where you want them to be anyway, as long as you're working hard and moving forward.
Axe says painting videos are always my best ones. That and the ones where I talked about chilling war gamers. I don't, to be honest, I don't think I have. The ones that do really good for me are obviously the ones Gamer Mal like will produce because they have more polish than what I do on them. And I noticed, so like I did one, and what was it? The Emperor Spears. So it was I think somehow maybe some article on like White Dwarf brought them up or something like that, and they weren't a really known chapter, but because I had a video out when that term for Emperor Spears, when that term started getting searched a lot, that one continually gets boosted and gets searches because it's kind of like big fish in a small pond type deal because there wasn't much out there for Emperor Spears type deal. And I don't
Mm.
think I think I have to put a lot more work into my videos, and a lot of them I'll do like the time lapse with some music, but it's like, okay, I should be like, some of them should be talking more about some stuff, or you know what I mean? I have to like just like hone in, I gotta like, so in my mind it's still like just a start for me in this, because as I watch, I'll see what other people's videos are like, oh yeah, I really like that. And it's like, well, yeah, you like that because they put a ton of time and effort and edits and composed all these photos and wrote a script, and you know what I mean? And so I'm like realizing, I'm like, okay, yeah, these are gonna take a lot more work before I kind of get anywhere with my YouTube.
And as long as you're moving forward and getting better at it each time you do it, that's my kind of my
Yeah,
goal. Like
yeah.
only doing it for um, about a month now, but trying to get better every time I do a video. Try to do something that's new. Try to do something that's pushing skills a little bit and learning a little bit more about sound and video, and eventually kind of get where you're producing something that people actually want to watch.
I know there's so much out there right now. The ones for hobby stuff, I like tabletop minions. I don't know what the appeal is to me with that one. I think it's like broad strokes of the hobby or something, and because I just, it's one of those you stumble across. The bigger lore ones, it's weird. As much as I like a lot of the lore, a lot of times I won't like listen to the videos about it or anything. So it's like a little mix. Sometimes I will, but it's like I just don't end up doing it to that much.
Hmm. Yeah, there are a few lore channels that I'll put on when I'm painting, but typically don't bother mostly it's painting stuff.
I will do
And then
more of the
board games.
live streams. I drop into people's live streams and see, you know what I mean? I'll be into that and check out some of them. Spook says, I mean, I generally never watched movie adaptations of books and comics because they generally suck. So very true. I I had to divorce myself from that. Like, I went through it so much. Like, especially, oh my god, I remember like the first. I don't know when like comic book movies started coming out. Like they had like Agents of Shield with David Hasselhoff, or like Shield with David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury. like like oh boy. And yeah, any time of that. And comics, I like comics a lot, and that was the thing. I'm like, oh, it's like I have to treat them like a separate universe from comics because most comic book stories are totally convoluted. Especially when it came to Marvel and DC, there'd be like 10 million things going on. But I would just be like, okay, it's like a separate universe, and I would try to just like treat them separate. And I was surprised how well done. Iron Man was like incredible to me. Even like the first Spider-Man movies were good, not first ones, but who was that first, the major one?
Tobey
The
Maguire
Toby.
one.
Yeah, that was solid to me. Iron Man blew me like because Robert Downey Jr. basically was Iron Man to me. You know,
Sure.
I was like, oh wow, you guys really hit it out of the park with this one. Oh, good point. Forge of Mars says the Emperor Spears got popular because of Aaron Dembowski's Bowden's book Spear of the Emperor. Yeah, that's probably why that one got the views. And so I noticed with that, it's like because I'm a total small account, it seems like the ones that go good for me, algorithmically speaking, are the ones that you're kind of like the big fish in a small pond. You know what I mean? It's like, so if it's like I don't know, something like specific or more niche, it fits in there.
Well, that's why I've been trying to do some game reviews for lesser known games, so that when people are looking for those, because I've looked for those in the past, like when you're trying to figure out how to play something, and there's only like 2 videos up. Well, I can be one of those. I can make a 3 and help people out. So I've been thinking about doing that more often.
Yeah, you put Martin. Thanks for making it, man. Appreciate it. And
Just
so
give
that's the other
something that
thing
other people aren't doing.
I got to do on here is that's like speaking of my YouTube productions, like I can have other guests. So I'm like I want to get in the habit of like on this say on this stream on like a Sunday stream, right? Have a guest, but then I can also have someone drop in for like 15 minutes. Hey, what are you working on? Or show us what your hobby thing is and that, and then they can just log in, show some stuff, and then hop out. And
Sure.
I kind of want to. You're almost like it's like you're being a mini production company. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I want to do a video with this and that. So for me right now, it's making sure I put my time where it's going to get me some returns. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm trying to slowly add to it. And there's a few things I'm excited about, but I guess it all takes time. Axe says Uncle Adam delivers content reasonably, has a golden voice, and his production value is great and not flashy at all. Yeah, Axe, that's one thing. It's probably because he has the artistic eye, and I noticed watching his content, I really like how it's laid out. And then plus, he had when I checked out one of his streams, it was really good with like his just camera setup. He would like had it nice so when he was holding the miniature, you could really see the miniature that he's like working on and stuff like that. So you can tell he's done it a long time. You know what I mean? To just figure out what works. So that was always cool. Spook says my 3 favorite factions in Warhammer are Night Lords, White Scars, and Space Wolves. Oh, he uses all the official names too, which I can't even. Tell Scars. Tall Scars? I don't even know how to pronounce that one. And forget about the Fenrique. Fenrica?
Huh. I
Yeah.
don't think the White Scars get enough love. So I'm glad they got some nice scenes in the Horus Heresy, Siege of Terra, like going out there and rushing the Death Guard.
Yeah, you don't, and I'm not delved in deep into the books, but you don't see him that much, mentioned or whatever. So that is one. And I mean, maybe there's more, but that's still, and they've been around for quite a while.
The kind of fast attack, get in and get out, cause as
Yeah,
much damage
yeah.
as you can.
And
That's
I
kind of
loved
cool.
always the bikes. I always like Spice Marine bikes. I always even like the new ones. White Scars were my first army. That's a cool one to have your first army, Axe. I was unhappy with my ability to convert them to look the way I wanted them in the late 90s and early 2000s. Yeah. When your reach exceeds your grasp or whatever it says.
My oldest son has a salamander army, and then my youngest one, he's just turning 7 here, he has a space wolf army. So I'm making
Oh.
they'll each have their own little army to play with for as long as they want it, or they can sell it, whatever they want to do.
Yeah. gonna come back to them someday when I have a reliable 3D printer. Yeah.
I think the space wolves need like wolf helmets. If I were to do it all over again, I'd probably spring for some aftermarket
Yeah,
helmets
I could see that for sure.
or go without it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did you end up buying that new iPad?
No, I'm waiting. I can't. I'm scared. I'm like, make sure you're getting more. Like, I cleaned this one all off, and it's a close one between me buying it because I'm like, don't preemptively pull the trigger. Like, I like to at least have the money saved up that I'm going to get it with, and then plus like extra. You know what I mean? So I'm like, because the one I'm looking at when I like tallied it all up, it's close to like $3,000 because it's basically all maxed out. You know what I mean? And I'm like, don't pull the trigger yet. I'm like, make sure you're getting more work and commissions, and and I'm like, things heated up a little with White Dwarf, but I'm like, don't get all caught up where you think everything's going to keep going great. You know what I mean? Like going below $3,000 and then everything slows down because a little boost from White Dwarf wore out. So I try to be reasonable and hold off. It'll end up happening, especially if I keep because now my workflow is so predicated on the iPad. Like it's so convenient for me to do it. And like so even I edit the videos on here, and that, and so you know how that goes. They chew up big space when you're trying to export,
Sure.
a nice high res video and everything.
Discover quickly, yeah. How quickly you can fill a hard drive.
Yeah, this thing, I mean, and they start because especially that I didn't think of it at the time, but you start saving all the time lapse videos for every one of these paint overs, and it just keeps growing.
It's shifting video files from down where I record them up to my other computer where I edit them. It's an exercise in frustration. Like, gotta
Yeah.
find 525 meg here and 2.4 gig here.
And that's the other thing, that I was joining. I never had Apple till I don't know, like I think 2018 is when I bought this iPad. But then I got the phone. I got an older iPhone, so it was like an iPhone 8, but I got it before, and the only reason I got an iPhone is I was like, well, the pictures share, and I'm like, I'm always like tweeting out from my phone, but if I get an iPhone, the same way when I just save a file onto my iPad, it's saved on the cloud on my phone. So I'm like, all right, I'll get an Apple phone. And then I learned you can like airdrop, and airdropping is so fast. It's like a huge file just transfer over really quick. And so those were working really well together. And I needed a new PC basically because I didn't need a new one, but um, I got one of those Mac Minis, and because there's a couple programs I use that would go on there that even you can't push on an iPad or whatever, and it's been working out for me just from the point of view of it really helps when you got to like transfer a file or move that it's super quick because I hated like you're a lot of times I still hate the interfaces of even like Dropbox. It can be a little bit of a pain and rejecting it, and then you're trying to get back on another device and all that stuff, and it takes time. Whereas because of how it was working on the iPad, it was just really quick for me doing that. And I got to start making some merch. But like, and that's the
How
hard thing
about
with me.
like, have you considered maybe doing like a pad that would go on a painter's desk?
Yes, and I
That would be
have to
cool.
go through. I have to shop out. I have the ability to print some things, right? But like different companies let you print, different stuff, and so I've kind of been looking around, and um, right now it's so weird when I do that kind of stuff. I slow kind of. I overthink that, and I'm not the type who wears much on a shirt. Like I'll wear a plain shirt, and what's funny though is that there's a couple I really like Oscar Lars, who like one of the painters. He sent me one, and I'm like, oh, I really like that shirt, and just because you kind of like the person or their product or whatever, so you're like, oh yeah, I want to like wear their shirt with that stuff on it. It's cool to me. So I guess I have to sketch out a bunch, then figure out what I think is cool, and then kind of put some stuff out there and see how people like respond or whatever. Because I don't
Mhm.
have I'm been around enough to know it's like you're not going to go sell a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm so super niche, you know what I mean? But I'm like, there's a group of people who, like, I thought paint overs were cool, and then it turns out other people think they're cool, you know what I mean? So it's like, don't underestimate that there's like other people out there who are into kind of the same thing as you. So I can tend to be like a little negative when I start thinking about this. Like, no one will want that. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
Well, with the print on demand stuff, it's should be less risk on your part, right?
absolutely. That's the biggest thing we're trying, because like, oh, I can try a bunch of stuff and put it out there, and then whatever. I'm not buying stock. You're not having a whole bunch of them printed or any of that stuff. So that's why I'm like, just go and do it. And I want to be ready for Christmas. So it's like, okay, if something's out there, and you can probably pick up a couple sales during the Christmas season.
And like, I had a big, um, I guess it was, you could argue it was the like mouse pad material.
Mm-hmm.
I had that on my work desk for a long time. Eventually, it just got so gummed up with glue and paint and stuff that I had to toss
Yeah.
it. But that was nice, better than just wood like I have at the moment. Because eventually this
Yeah, I'm
desk
gonna
will get
look. I'm
destroyed
gonna
too.
look into a few. Oh, that guy's face dropped out. I'm gonna look into a few of those because I know some of them do it. And it'd be nice to have a. They started doing flags from the one place I print, and so I was like, I printed a. They have a 3D print towel, and it's crazy. I had one done, and it's crazy how good it looks on a towel, of all things. It's like a beach towel, so it's not like a real fluffy one or whatever, because they have to be able to print on it. But it's still, I was just thoroughly impressed because it's huge. It's probably like 5 feet long and probably almost like 3 feet wide. And I almost thought of something like that, so like someone could literally let you actually could work on it, huh? Huh. I'm gonna have to get a couple more printed.
And then you have your logo in the middle of their painting stream.
Yeah.
Stealth advertising.
And plus, I want it to be cool. Like, there's a certain amount of, whatever, you take pride in your work. So I'm like, I don't want to just be like, oh, hey, here's, something, buy it, If I'm going to make a shirt or make anything, I want it to be like what I consider cool.
All right.
That's why I was laughing this morning because I started sketching, and I'm like, sketching bodies on some pikes and the flags and banners. I'm like, okay, wait, what are you doing? I'm like, who thinks, I'm going to wear a shirt with a bunch of spiked bodies on it or whatever. So it just kind of like cracks me up as I'm working on it. As an adult.
Ghost Bear. I was a Jade Falcon. All my buddies were Jade Falcons. And so I was going back to
Read
That'll
Brotherhood of
catch
the
stuff.
Storm, Scars, and Path of Heaven. Chris Wright gave them such an awesome background. And then Spook says, I like Chris Wright's work on the White Scars, but I certainly do not like his work on the Custodes. He's basically made them weaker than the damn Space Marines. I haven't read much. I did get, there's like the Valdor or whoever the main one is of the Custodes. I think I bought an audiobook of that one. I haven't listened to it yet. Because I didn't know, like, from a story wise, I never read. I've been out of the loop so much that custodes weren't a thing in second edition. You know what I mean? So I was like, I still don't know a bunch of the lore behind it.
Besides being like the Emperor's bodyguards, I don't really know much about them.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I want know a little more about them. Axe says, I might have to think about updating my logo sometimes. I've had it for 17 years though, and I'm kind of attached. Yeah, I could understand that. I What's funny is I did the AE logo, and I literally was like, I want something that I imagined it in an empire as on a flag. You know what I mean? So like that's what it started like. I want an image that would look good on a flag. So if I ever, I don't know, did miniatures or whatever, I could have the little logo that stands up and have it like on a back banner or whatever for a Marine. So that's kind of what started with my logo. I'm like, all right, it's nice and bold enough. I think like I kind of dig it. It's got the letters and it's like real simple, you know, but it's graphic. Heroes, thanks for making it. Mechfrog 12 is painting some Mantic goblins, and he was waiting for an earth elemental to dry. I think it's an earth elemental.
Yeah, greater.
Uh-huh. And me, I'm just putzing around. I'm cleaning up this. I should be working on some t-shirt stuff, but I'm not. I had one this, and I like something about them, but then they take a lot of work. I want to do some funky ones. I don't know what. I don't know, like be tentacles. I was like doing designs. I'm like, just rough some in, and then I'm gonna keep a whole bunch, and then figure out what I like. There was one I wanted to do, and I can't get it right anywhere else. I want like an underhive city. So like this one, if you imagine these being like the buildings in the underhive, and they're hanging down from above, and they're coming up from beneath. And so I want to do one like that, but I have to figure it out first. I'm just trying to like block it in and get the negative space, and then like create the depth and the whole feel. So it's like I imagine it's like someone, if you played in the underhive and you were like going to game, like, okay, I'll put on like the underhive shirt, you know. So I want it has to be graphic and bold, but yet I still want to like bring a kind of like painterly style into it. So sometime I'll get something that I like. So I've been trying to like mock up how would I do like a cool underhive, you know what I mean, like view, and I'm like, so I'll get there. I assembled some IP Theft Marvel characters for a friend.
Never do that. Never ever. That was a good example of having a video out at the right time. When all that IP stuff was going down, like I should just do a random video and give my thoughts, and it's doing rather well just because people are
Oh,
searching
did
for it.
that one? I know. I should be like, what I should be doing is I should take when GW does their like release, right? So they'll do like a Monday release and they'll show some new models. I should be painting those over almost that day, like one of them, and releasing a video, because then when people are Google searching that term, you know what I mean? It kind of
Yeah, that's
comes
probably
up
a really
right
good idea.
there. And yeah.
Because they were pretty much releasing with white backgrounds anyway, so you should have no problem at all isolating them.
Oh, yeah, spook. Custodes. The custo, as I call them. I will pronounce everything wrong. Eruz, he's in his summer house here, so no hobbying. Oh, good. Hopefully you're enjoying some relaxation time, though. Good for you if you are. Squigs, that they came out with some crazy squigs. Like that white.
Lots of personality.
Yeah, they really went for it on those orcs.
Probably the best vacation I had in a long time was just before COVID hit. We went out to the coast, and there's this hotel that has been there. It's one of the oldest hotels in the state, and not really any internet. We just brought a few board games and went with another couple who's friends of ours, and we just played board games all weekend, and it was so refreshing. And yeah, that was quite literally like 2 weeks before the lockdown. We're like, oh, okay, I hope we're recharged because we're not doing this forever.
Eruz, I could see you said Eruz says I'm thinking of kit bashing a Titan with a Forge World giant squig, and I could totally see that because you had a couple awesome conversions already, so I don't doubt your ability to pull that off. Martin, squigs. Martin, wait till we make you some custom order clothing with your squigs. We're gonna pull that off.
Never have enough.
We'll make that happen.
Figure out however many squigs you think you need and then double it.
This one came out so cool. I like this one. Enchanted Tours. I have a feeling this is going to be a long winter too. I don't know how I feel about this. Like the summer went by, and I don't not like hot weather or whatever, but I gotta say I love the daylight hours, the amount of time, because last winter was just really dragging to me. And when there was those short days, it was just wow. Like especially here where I'm at, there were some short ones. And I'm like, oh, the days are getting shorter, and it's gonna be. I'm like, a good thing we got a good amount of time, and I'm looking forward to fall. But and then I don't know what they're going to be with different lockdowns, and who knows what's going on.
I don't mind the heat during the summer, but the smoke I can do without. So we're going on like two summers of smoke out here, and it's
Syria. Yeah, that's pretty bad, though.
Like, at least we have AC at this house. At the other place we moved from, we didn't have AC, and that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
You couldn't even hook up your AC because it'd be pulling in. It basically creates a vacuum and sucks in the smoke. So
yeah,
you just had to suffer. It's awful. Of course, this place, the basement's about 10 degrees cooler than it is upstairs.
So that's why I've always loved basements.
This is the place to be.
I think there's maybe it's a certain part, like, you know, and obviously when you're in the U.S., like a certain section of them, they always like built in a lot of basements, you know, at a certain time period. So it was like a lot of, I think kids growing up around that time had the basement experience. You just get like comfortable in a basement. Mm-hmm. It's like the same in Stranger Things. It starts out with them playing D&D in the basement. I was like, dude, that was like the same years and everything. I'm like, that's exactly what we were doing.
BattleTech and playing Magic cards.
Yeah.
Into trouble.
Yeah, Axe says the smoke is a bit much, so it's bothering him too. Yeah. Dang. Spook says, hopefully I'll be able to travel to some random mountainous countries and hike a good way through it in months or so, a year to two. Yeah. I always like a good nature getaway.
Yeah, we're about a 10-minute drive from a pretty big state park here. So once the smoke is away, we can go and do more walks and hikes and stuff. It's pretty cool.
See, yeah, so it spooks. Yeah, Spook says there are no basements where I'm at in the Mid East. The ground is too hard for that to happen. Yep. Yeah, and they don't. I can't remember if they do it in like even Arizona and stuff. I would think there was a bunch, and I don't think they do it as commonly out there as they do here. Huh? As a, I forget.
They're pretty common up in where I am in Eastern Washington because the soil is so sandy.
Yeah.
And so it's just the easiest thing for them to do to just dig down and give the house a basement, double the square footage. So
Yeah,
almost
you
every house up
double
here
that
has a basement.
footage, and it's just like, bam, you got a whole nother area.
And this place that we just bought, the basement was completely unfinished because the only owner that it ever had was a single woman who didn't ever need it.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
now we're finishing it after it was built in 1982, and so we're finally getting around to finishing the basement. But it'll be nice. Just add 1,600 square feet to your house.
And so, yeah, and Spook and mentioned the Middle East, and now I want Middle Eastern food, or the I want the fake, was it the fake American version of a Middle? No, I've had some good Middle Eastern food from here, but you know how it is. Anything that comes to America gets Americanized for the food version, but
Sure. Not always a bad thing,
we
though.
like this is funny. It's a small little live chat. We got the Middle East covered. We have Sweden. We're all over the states. We're in the UK. It's like,
Great.
yeah, AE worldwide. Thanks for joining. See, and you're in Calgary. I've never been to Calgary, and I think it's one of those places where I'm like I always kind of see and like, and the other place, like the what is it, the northwestern kind of side. I mean, I know that's in Canada, but the northwestern side of like the U.S. And I would like the redwoods are not even there, but get to the cedars and the like they.
That's
It's
where
like
I
the
am.
northern when you have the northern like it's almost like a rainforest, but it's not. It's like a split. I forget what they call it, like a deciduous rainforest or whatever. I always
Well,
love.
the Olympic National Parks over in on the peninsula in Washington. It's the only
Yeah,
rainforest in the United States.
yeah, yeah. I love that look.
That's beautiful, beautiful place to visit. That was one of those places where you can actually find absolute silence. Like
Yeah.
you can't hear an airplane, you can't hear cars. You just walk out into this forest, and it's just nature. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, Olympic National Park, definitely awesome place.
Yeah, in Sweden, do you really even do basements? I would think you wouldn't, especially in rock. Like I don't see anyone putting a basement in rock. You'd be paying a gabillion dollars. See, you're probably like me. X is like he says I'm not a city person, but I think Calgary is all right. I'm from the Yukon. I prefer wilderness overall. Like, yeah, I kind of lean that way. It's funny. I love it's like, hey, get me on the internet. Because you in the cities, like the traffic and everything always gets me. You know what I mean? Like your college lawyer is like always like crazy busy, and then if you go out someplace where it's like real wilderness, you don't have you just drive wherever. But then a lot of times you're driving forever just to get some groceries.
Or driving and actually going somewhere, I don't mind. But
Yeah.
driving and sitting in traffic, like I'll drive 20 minutes to go somewhere, and that's great. But if I have to sit in traffic for 20 minutes, it's to get somewhere that's even closer. It's just not something I want to do. Part of the reason why we moved. It's like when the only way out of your town is a little 2-lane road, and everybody uses it.
Yeah. I get to go up when you go up real up north by like Lake Superior and stuff. There's a lot less people up there, and there's some cool areas where you can just kind of drive around and whatever. You know what I mean? I always like, that's why I end up going up there, and it's a nice getaway place for me. Oh wow, Erus. Okay, see, I don't even know what I'm talking about. He says we have a lot of basements. It's more common for you to have a basement than not. That's wild. I would just think
Huh.
it's someplace with really rocky that they wouldn't even like forget that. Huh.
Ready to dry brush this guy. Let's do that. As advertised.
Go, go, go. I can't hang out with everybody. See, everyone, I hang out with international people, but then I always start wondering about the food and wanting to try. That's where it all goes. I'll be here for drawing or whatever, but I'm always like, oh, Sweden. They have a lot of Swedish stuff that I didn't get to try. I want to try some Swedish stuff with my Middle Eastern food. Yeah, they're dynamiting. I. It's so wild. Up north, there was a guy. I mean, he passed away now, but he was like 90. I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And he would talk about growing up, and they would go to the corner hardware store and just buy sticks of dynamite. You could just go to the store and buy dynamite. Like the good old days. I'm like, they were like, I'm like, I don't know what it says. I'm like, is it saying society is getting worse when you can't just go to the corner and buy dynamite? Like before, I'm like, literally, you just like, you could just go and buy some sticks.
I had a buddy whose father was missing a couple of fingers. And one day we got the story about how he lost them. They was digging in his backyard, and they decided they were going to dig a mine. And they had this property that had kind of an angle to it. So they were digging into the side of the hill. And they got in far enough, they're like, oh, we're going to need lanterns. And so they didn't have a lantern, but instead they decided they would make one using a cup and filling it with this, I can't remember if it was lighter fluid or gas, but when they filled it up and decided we'll just stick a wick in it and light it and it'll be like a lantern. Well, it exploded in his hand and it blew off two of his fingers.
Oh,
so
man.
That's his story about why you don't play with that kind of stuff. I was just thinking about like the parenting involved in just letting your kids dig a mine in the backyard.
I won't even get into the dumb stuff I did as a kid because I did some like high risk stuff. I remember I went to my parents' house, and in their basement I had like some stuff from when I was a kid, right? And you had to make gunpowder. You could use, like, back then you're looking it all up, and I still had saltpeter when you could go and buy saltpeter from the CVS's or whatever. So it's like for making gunpowder, you put like saltpeter and charcoal or whatever. You're making like flame effects or something. Oh god, you can even do like saltpeter and sugar and light it. Oh boy. Spook
Anything's a
says,
bomb if you're creative enough.
yeah. Spook says, I would definitely love to go hiking the North Yemeni, South Saudi rainforest and mountains, but with the current insurgency operation there, I would be lucky not to get kidnapped or killed. Yeah, that is and yeah, I never take that for granted. Like living here, you don't have to, you're not dealing with the same amount of like, just things going on like that. And I had someone I knew was from Yemen, and his dad grew up there, and then he was there a few times, and then like they came over here, and he really liked it. There's a lot of cool stuff, but then he's obviously afraid to go back and all that, which I totally get. It's just the state of the world. I like my grim
Count our
dark in the
blessings
made
to be
up
safe.
stories, not in real life.
It's easy to forget how blessed we are, where we are. Always be somewhere
Yeah, it's
that's
just your
less
slice of
safe.
time and where you're at. And I never take that stuff for granted because it's like, man, people have lived through a lot of stuff. like skipped out on getting like drafted for anything. You know what I mean? Like I had uncles and everything are like getting drafted in World War II and Vietnam and all that stuff. And it's like, man, I like time and place. And I grew up in a time where you're a kid and you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think life can be too bad if you're a kid and you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Swedish food, I don't know too much about Swedish food. I don't even not too much. I mean, the standard like American stereotypical Middle Eastern food, yes, I know that stuff, but not a lot of like the deeper stuff that they make. It's like I still want to flip out every time I'll go and get Mexican food, and it's like US isn't far from Mexico, people. It's right there. But every Mexican food, they always give you the crummy refried beans and the crummy rice. And I'm like, there's like a billion other side dishes that they serve in Mexico. Why does every American Mexican restaurant use the same two? It's like, it's so annoying. I'm like, there's a ton of good stuff. And, I'd have like Mexican friends who would like come back and forth from there and they would actually cook the real like Mexican food. It's so good. And then you go to like
Oh
some
yeah.
a Mexican restaurant. It's like, well, come on, this is like a stupid taco that's served everywhere and some beans and rice like that. Like, come on, there's room for improvement in the American Mexican food scene. It's like, go try some Mexican food.
When I was doing my student teaching, there was a mom who would bring in her homemade tamales
Mm-hmm.
for all the teachers on Fridays. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, we can make it through the week because if you can make it to Friday, you're getting some really good food.
I'd have friends there and I would be trading them anything like for their food. I'd be like, okay, you got to bring me these tomorrow. So I would get them lunch and then they would pack me extra for me. You know what I mean? Stuff like, and I remember they invited me over. It was the first time I had horchata. And of course they invite me over. So it's homemade horchata. And it was like the best thing ever. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, how did I never have this? And then I would try, you go out to places and they basically would serve it with like a mix where they're they made it was like the rice water and it's washed and they take so it was like the real way, and it was like they put the vanilla in it and all that and it was amazing. And so I'm always like chasing that one now, trying to find like I should just learn how to make my own is what I should do.
That helped pop a lot of the edges out. She was looking pretty good.
That does.
I'll have to post a good
That, yeah, it gives us some depth in there. I like that model for the funky shadows. Like, I think one time we're gonna end up painting that one over because there's some good. I want to do some like shadow and highlight when you actually get a picture of that because there's some good angles on it. That one where you just snap that one laying on the desk was an awesome one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to work on him this week. Get him done.
I don't even know how to pronounce this, and I never had it. But Axe and Erus like it. Meatballs are classic with potato and brown sauce. Yeah, we've had quite a few of Swedish meatballs here.
I think I'll start his gems. This little obsidian bits here. I'll give you a little teaser for what it might look like later.
Smorgastatra is a thing to behold. Is that where they obviously say smorgasbord? That's got to be Swedish? Is that Swedish? A smorgasbord? How do you even say it? It's got to come from that. Oh, red beet salad. Oh God, yeah, count me in. Yeah. Oh, I want red beet salad now. God, why did you tell me that? I haven't had beets in a while. And I love beets, man. Oh, I'm a sucker. I think I like anything pickled. And that's probably because it's what loaded with salt and unhealthy for you. But beets,
Probably.
there's one. Oh, God, I can't. They have this. They sell these beets, and it's like just in a little package, so they're not in like brine or anything, and they're already skinned and like cooked or whatever. But they're like, I don't even know. I want to say like $4 for a pack, and I don't even know. There must only be like 5 beets in it or something. So it's like crazy expensive, but every once in a while they're on sale, and then I buy those because what sucks is you'd give me beets and then I would just want to eat all of them at once. You know what I mean? So I always try to like just take one and have that for now. Get your little like beet fix and then save it. But I should. It's another thing I should do is cook some of those. And
Have you had pierogi before?
have I had what?
Pierogi. It's
Pierogi.
Polish or Russian.
I'm sure
Basically,
I have.
meat and veggies inside of a baked bread.
Huh. And I know I've heard the term, and I know I must have eaten it. Pierogi. Man, why did I? There must be a version here because I know it too, and
Yeah,
I know
it's
people who made it.
Eastern European, Russian.
Yeah. I'm just, and that's funny because like I know all the like the usual the glumpies and the pierogies and all that kind of stuff. Huh.
There's this place outside of Seattle that we would go to quite often because there was like actually Russian family that would make them and just buy enough for several meals, and then we would just sit in the fridge and eat one when you good times.
Oh, Axe. Okay. Spook says, funnily enough, when it comes to the Middle East, the insurgents are the least of your worries. The governments are what you should really be afraid of. They're more corrupt than the Council of Devils, huh? That's uh, that a friend from Yemen. That's what that was kind of their feeling. They were like, you could be out there and like literally get snatched up in your car by like government, and you're like totally screwed. I was like, man, you think about stuff like that, and it really keeps your worries in perspective.
Yeah, count your blessings.
Is there a Discord? When am I going to be invited? I will send you an invite, Eruz. I think I have your Twitter. Oh, I have you on. Are you on Discord? I'll send you an invite. I got to get you. I'll find you somewhere on social and pass you a link. I didn't open it up. I'm all afraid to have an open Discord because then I'd have to moderate it. And I'm like, I'm not going to be spending time moderating and word. So I have one, but I just do kind of every once in a while invite only type deal. But anyone who wants one, I just ask. I just don't want to leave it open so that random trolls be coming in.
Yeah. People were deliberately causing trouble.
Yeah, I just, whatever. But yes, Eruz, I would love to have you, so I will get a hold of you and send you an invite. Swedish sandwich. I like Swedish fish. Does that count? I love smoked fish. I love. There would probably be a lot of Swedish stuff I like with fish. But I like most of probably the only thing I have, and this is, I pretty much like everything. The one that gets a little iffy, and it matters on the quality. I think the freshness counts is cilantro. I think sometimes it can be too powerful of a note. And it's the same kind of with like mint. Someone will put mint and stuff, and I'll be like, if it's like too powerful, it like overpowers all the other flavors to me.
Yeah, I'll eat mint in anything. fact, I make the argument that they should make mint ice cream without the chocolate chips.
See, I think that's what you said, something about mint, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have a conflict with him because he liked mint, and I think it's gross.
All right, no one's perfect.
I was like, there's going to be conflict. He's like preaching about mint, and here I am. I'm like, how am I going to have to tell him that mint's no good? I don't know.
We had a ton of it. We had a ton of it in our backyard.
Food. I'm like, we're gonna have to broach this topic somehow. I don't know how to tell them. Look, buddy, you're wrong for liking mint in your food.
We planted a ton of it in our backyard at the old house, and we're gonna do it again next year. But when it really gets to be smelling, you can open up the window and just.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
It will take over. There are mint fields out here in some of the farming areas. When you're driving through there, you have to leave your windows up because even then it's so strong.
Oh yeah, I can imagine
that you will get overpowered by it.
What?
Pretty cool.
What was I thinking now? I just thought of something else. Darn it! I hate having a super short attention span now. I gotta do the next step in the tutorial. Where was I? Yeah, that's what I'll do this week. I'll do the next one in this. Oh, you know what I like? Those aloe drinks. You remember, like, it's like almost the half grossest thing because there's like chunks of aloe in it and like in a drink, but it's like an aloe beverage. I love those. Mint made me think of that. God, I'm getting hungry now. I'm going to want to go spend like $100 on food after this.
Good end of the story.
I'll be like Googling where's the local Swedish Mediterranean restaurant, but Swedish Mediterranean fusion.
Yeah, there you go. And watch there actually be one.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I'm right here.
We've not only been here, but we've been here for 30 years. You never knew that.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the oldest restaurants in the... Spook, you just stay safe, buddy. Are you... What miniature... Spook, what army... What are you working on? What miniatures are you working on? It's from Qatar. Some say Qatar, some say Qatar. What do they say, Qatar? I don't think that's right. I don't even know. And there's probably a mix of both.
Mint is the best weed ever. I love it. It is, because once it gets going, it's hard to kill. So yeah, you pull it out of the ground.
It does a lot of things. It doesn't like keep some bugs away and all kinds. It has some other.
It does. Yeah, bothers mosquitoes.
Okay. CX, and I would agree with that. The only thing I don't like about the aloe chunk drinks I've had is the artificial sweetener. Yeah, artificial sweetener always kind of throws me. All the artificial sweeteners, they always in a way end up making me more thirsty or something about them. It's like they're not thirst quenching. There's something like
a lot of those drinks have a lot of salt in them.
Yeah. That's why I mostly do water anyway. And everything in America is always like, so now it's just jam-packed with sugar and salt. And you know what I mean? It's like you got to dig through everything just to find something that's reasonably healthy.
Finding stuff without tons of salt in it's been a challenge.
And that was the other thing. I had to cut back on all my salt because I was the type of moron who I would make toast in the morning and then I'd salt my toast.
After I went to the doc, and the doc's like, "Yeah, you should probably do something about this blood pressure." I'm like, "All right, fine. You have to cut salt out of your diet." I'm like, I'll try.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything I love has salt in it.
I know for sure. I'm the same way.
I'm Italian. We eat a lot of stuff that has salt in it. Prepped meats and all that kind of stuff.
Mint ice cream without chocolate chips is a thing you can for sure get over here in Berlin.
I'm moving to Berlin.
Oh.
That's it.
Eruz
So
says, I have to go, but thanks for the fun. Looking good as always. Appreciate it, Eruz. And I will send you, if you emailed me, then I will send you a link to the Discord. So check for that probably in the next, whatever, hour or two when I'm done here. I think it's good for like 24 hours. So, but I'll see you again and we'll always shoot you one if you need be. Battlefleet Gothic. I'm currently working on a homebrewed Inquisitor's fleet in Battlefleet Gothic. All right, Spook.
awesome. That's just cool how that community is still so passionate about a game that isn't really being supported.
I know. But they have cool ships. Like some of them are really cool. Like that. Yeah, I always remember those. Like these huge, just floating.
There's another benefit of those 3D printers, like being able to support your own game rather than having to wait for a company to
I
remember that
know.
they had.
That's what. That's what I think it's going to get to because, like, it's almost like at a certain point they would just be like, okay, well, hey, we'll release files for these ships, and then people can print them, and you kind of like almost revive a game kind of deal. There's going to be someone doing that sort of thing. And I mean, like I said, I obviously know they are, but on scale, you know.
So long as the companies aren't jerks about it, like, or go after people for IP for a game that you're not even supporting anymore. So really,
Yeah.
leave them alone. Leave them alone. Don't hurt anybody.
Andrew, Andrew, let me. Yes, you'll be definitely. I mean, anyone who wants one, I give it out to, so I'm fine with that. Um, I just don't have one that's like out in the open. We're like, hey, here, click here and join, which I may do one day. So I'm trying to think what is the best way. Andrew, I don't know if I know you on Twitter. I mean, all I got to do is send you a link. So I'm trying to think what would be the best way. If you're on Twitter, maybe just DM me, or I'm probably everywhere. So message me on any platform, and I should be able to get you a link.
Nice place to hang out. Good
Yeah,
people there.
yeah. It's super. It's super valuable for me because I had been out of it so long, and obviously there's a bunch of people who joined who are so much more knowledgeable about the hobby and just kind of what's going on and all that. So I get a lot from it. And like, the feedback, I'll, show some paint overs and stuff in there and get feedback from people. And it's just a super helpful group. Okay, you got me on Instagram? Yeah. Shoot me a message in there, and then right after this show, I will drop you a link. Be a pleasure to have you. Oh, Martin. Yeah. Oh, Martin, you took that one clip of you editing out all the flashes. I have to post that one day. So, hey, those earlier ones were super rough, dude. No, you didn't, Martin. This one I was using for the time lapse, like the tutorial series. So I did this one on that. So this one is I keep working it up in steps and then documenting kind of the progress.
Okay.
I gotta do some horizontal ones. Whoops, I gotta take this down. It's been up there forever. Yeah, and by the way, if anyone else is watching or whatever, and if you end up wanting a Discord link, just shoot me a message anywhere, and then I will get one off to you. I want a knight too. I still keep wanting to buy one of these knights.
Full size one or a little
No,
one?
well, yeah, for 28 millimeter. What
Give
are
them
your
a
opinions on cats? I'm an animal lover. I dig animals. I never had a cat. I like there's a couple cats I really kind of liked, and I had never had one though. A couple dogs. I never had a dog, but I mean I was growing up and had dogs, so they theoretically weren't mine, but even take care of them. And then somehow I don't own a dog now, but I'm still taking care of the dog. But yeah, Spook Cats the musical, Cats the musical movie, or Cats the animals.
I don't think we're supposed to talk about the movie. It's just so bad.
I never saw, it, but I heard some people. Yeah, there was the I forget what they did. Like it was the Uncanny Valley cat characters.
It didn't quite look enough like cats and a little bit too much like people.
I like like the animals having different personalities. Like I love, like cats got their kind of certain personality going where they're chill, and I know I would really like one having pets. I actually have a hard time with pets because I get way so connected, dude, that I'm like I can't be having more tragedy in my life when they pass away.
So when I'm done with this black, and it'll be like the darkest black I can find.
I'm going to zoom in on you. I'm going to put you on single screen right now. I want to see this bigger.
So I'll do all the crystals in black, and then do the edge work in a dark blue, and that'll give it a little bit of that look of obsidian. And then once it's completely done, I'll use a glossy a
Oh,
gloss coat
yeah, like
over the
the
top,
finish to make it shine. Okay.
so it'll reflect a lot of the light, even though the rest of the rock monster will be dull.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a good idea.
Play with the light a bit.
We're going to get a good paint over of that one. I want to do that one later, basically in the same pose as that one. And I'll get a photo of that and do something cool with it.
It's a pretty neat model. Lots of details to paint, though. Definitely not a 1 hour and done type thing.
Oh, Axe. I think I know it. There's an Uncanny Valley style dating show on Netflix I've been meaning to check out. I think I've seen some of that, and I'm like probably half scared to watch.
Like dressed up as animals.
Yeah, something.
Too weird for me.
His cat was gifted to him by a friend. Yeah. Yeah, they become part of the family. All the pets, it's like they are a huge part of it. And then when you have them and you get to really know their personalities and like what they're, they just look at you and it's like this whole conversation. The one I didn't know I would like until a friend had one, and obviously it's probably wildly different, is a parrot. And I don't know. I don't think I would want a parrot because like birds, I'm like, okay, go do your bird. I don't know. It's like flying is like an important thing. I'd be like, I don't know how I'd feel about it, but the parrots were so smart. Like this parrot was just so smart, and like I didn't know it was going to have that much personality, and I got around it, and it was just, and it always cracked me up that it was a parrot, and it never really like talked, like said words or anything. And the one time I was over there, and I was imitating something or whatever, and I did it in a loud voice, and I said "F you," And the bird right after that, that was the one thing the bird mimicked. And he's like, F you. And we just cracked up because the
Right.
bird never spoke before. The one time it speaks, it's like saying F you. And it would, what it loved, and we used to laugh, is I was eating chicken wings there one time. I think we had something, and that bird, he really loved some chicken wings. Like he would come up to you with his foot, and I'm like, "What are you doing? You know?" And he's coming up, and he's standing. It was a tiny one, and he would be standing on it, and then he'd be reaching for it with his other foot, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" And I ate a chicken wing, and I gave it to him, and I was like, "Here, what do you want with that?" It's like chicken. Isn't that some sort of like cannibalistic thing you got going on here, buddy? And he would take his beak and he would just, eat the meat off, and he would crack that bone open and take all the marrow out. And I was like, wow, you are a serious bird.
Little dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, you don't play. And it was just, and he would do the thing where you'd like walk up to your sock or something, and then start wanting to crawl up your leg and everything. I was like, wow, you gotta, like, it was a, personality. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we'll stick to cats.
Mm-hmm. Dogs as a kid, I like, dogs, just playing with them, and they're so goofy and whatever.
I just don't want all that extra work.
Well, see, that's the thing, because you got
I
to let
don't
them
want
out,
to
and
walk
then
the cat.
I get, yeah, because you do have to walk them, and I'll feel bad. It's like, some people in the city, and they'll have like these big hairy dogs. I'm like, that dog never gets to run, or do you know what I mean? I'm like, I always like feel bad for that stuff. I'm like, they need some kind of space, especially like the big ones and everything.
I have to put too much effort into it. Make the oldest clean out the cat box anyway, so that's
Mm-hmm.
very little work for me.
I know, I'm forever taking the dogs for like a walk in the morning, and I half like resent it, and then I half like, okay, it prompts me to do it, because I'm like, it'll help me too. Axe, you had a bearded dragon. I never had any lizards.
I had a newt when I was a kid. It was pretty cool. We went on vacation and I forgot about him, and then he came back and his tank was all dry and he was a dried out newt.
Right. Well, yeah, you'll learn those lessons as a kid. Something like a newt.
Mummified amphibian.
Axe, what are you working on? You might have said it, but I don't think I remember. What miniatures or something are you working on? I know you're always busy with stuff. We had some good global coverage in today's live stream.
Getting all over the place.
Spook, how did you hear about me, by the way? How did you hear about Artist Empire? I don't know if you saw a vid or maybe Twitter. I don't think so, though. Well, speaking of dogs, guess who's here? Guess who walked in? I know what you want. And then this dog, what bums me out is it's my dad's dog, and I love dogs. He never wants to like cuddle. I'm like, come on, I got this huge chair. I'm like, you could sit here and you could just chill, and I would think it would be awesome. But he never wants that. I was like, okay, just. I'm like, oh, you don't even. I'm like, I miss out all the fun parts of the dog. I got you take you for a walk, feed you, or whatever, but you don't ever just want to like cuddle on the chair. Do I get a complex? You're gonna give me a complex, huh, buddy? You don't want to chill with me? What's wrong with me? And then I'm the type of person who's like, well, if animals don't like you, and he was like, this dog, I don't know if he likes me. He thinks I'm just like free meal and stuff. Yeah.
It's just interesting how animals take to certain people.
Yeah, yeah.
The cats want nothing to do with like sitting in anyone's lap except my wife's lap. They want to be there. I guess they see her as like the mom or something.
It is funny how they like develop like different. There we go. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go feed him something. Hold down the fort for a few minutes.
Try not to burn the place down. And that one cat thinks he's still a kitten, even though he's gigantic. Just not fat, just a really huge cat. And so he'll try to sit in your lap like he's a kitten, except he's gigantic. It's 80 degrees in the house. Do not need a big fat cat in your lap. You could totally go with this earth elemental in lots of different ways. Like you could easily do like kind of a reddish rock and then do more like ruby crystals. That would look really cool. Lots of different possibilities with color schemes. I was looking at some of the other Mantic stuff on their site. I can't remember who it was on Twitter I was talking with, but some of the other armies are really conducive to interesting, bold colors. You're not pushed into just one color scheme. A lot of them. So definitely worth looking into. I'm looking forward to playing Kings of War once I get the armies done. Get them out on the battlefield. And I just have to have this rock elemental trash the whole place and kill a bunch of goblins. I think it's really cool that people are looking for other games recently. Checking out other opportunities, because if we can get like competition's this great thing. If we can get competition going where you don't just have one producer who completely dominates the gaming market, you're going to get some pressure to keep prices down and to try new ideas. Competition's a great thing. You don't just want one company to decide what everybody else is playing. So I'm willing to roll the dice on the starter box for Kings of War and for other games as well, just to give companies a chance to share what they can do and their ideas. So there's some creative people out there. To support creativity. There's a little crystal hidden all over his body here. It's starting to look like purple ice cream with chocolate chips in it. It's going to be a process. Not a one-day paint. We'll see. It should look pretty awesome when it's done. Look good on the shelf. It's definitely like a display piece, display miniature. He's pretty big. He's a good solid 4 inches tall. So he's going to dominate whatever. What's 80 degrees in Celsius? Needs me. 80 degrees.
Wait.
26, almost 27 Celsius.
What is 80 degrees? Okay, 27. Oh, Spook. I don't. Okay, Qatar. I don't know. I don't know if it's a Lebanese thing. They would do the flatbread, and they would have sujuk, I think it was called, in za'atar. Like za'atar was, I think, the herbs and stuff, and that's still one of my favorite things on earth. That bread, and I don't have a close Lebanese bakery. And I don't know if they do it like I know it's spread throughout the Middle East, but I don't know how far or where. But oh man, I love that stuff, and I don't have one close, and it bums me out. Sorry, I came back all thinking about food. I don't even know where you guys were at. I just come in babbling about that.
It was a flawless transition.
Yeah,
It was
there's
glorious.
like absolutely nothing. And I just
Trust
I don't
me.
even pay attention.
Don't ever
to
watch the
anything
video.
that's being said.
Don't ever watch the video again. Just understand it was a flawless transition. If they gave out awards for that kind of stuff, that
Oh, so you do have it. What I never like knew too many Lebanese people. But what's funny is, I got to know them. There was a Lebanese bakery. It was like, I don't even know, 50 yards from my house, right? So it was there for a few years, and I was going in there every day because of this bread, and I was eating it multiple times a day. It's probably half killed me, but it was amazing. And so then my opinion of Lebanese people is like, I love them. I'm like the one from like, I don't know anything about the rest. I'm like, this guy was like right from there, and he it was a bummer because he did it right, and they were like, yeah, the key to this is like the oil, and I've tried them at other places after all the time, and none of them had that little bit of oil like this place did, where it would just get this perfect kind of between crispy and soft and everything. And so I've been chasing the dragon with them, always trying to find the perfect one of those breads ever since. And it's a bummer because I had it early on. And I like those herbs a lot, the za'atar or whatever. Did we?
I was mentioning how the Mantic figures, you can go a lot of different directions with them, and you're not kind of pigeonholed with paint schemes.
Yeah, I do.
It's like this elemental, you could go in a lot of different color schemes for this guy. You could go with a more reddish rock or the traditional gray or whatever.
And I think with that many, I think you could really you could go all kinds of like anything from mud to plants to all kinds of stuff on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once it's done, I've got some of that basing plant stuff that I can drop on there too. Like he's a little bit more natural. Like he just crawled out of the side of the mountain.
I've been seeing more of their. They've been busy photographing because they had a bunch of new releases coming out. So they've been working photographing them all to get that stuff done. So I've been seeing some of that stuff, and
Yeah,
I've been like the
almost
halflings. I keep staring at the darn halflings. I don't even want to like halflings.
the salamanders look really cool, kind of lizard men.
Yeah, there was a couple good ones. So I'm like, all right, good. I'm like, I hope your sales figures are good, so you guys will want to hire me for more stuff.
Pretty close to giving in on that salamander army. Let's see.
I gotta get some, and then I keep debating what to paint, and I'm like, you know what? Realistically, I'm like, I should buy some that I like from Mantic to paint them, because then I could use them for the paint overs. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I should be like really studying the model good and like checking out a bunch of stuff. So I think doubtlessly I'll end up picking some up.
Dwarven army is kind of cool because they've got kind of mecha type stuff. So if you're into the technology, it's a good army for that. Of course, I don't know how any of them actually play in the game.
I know. That's
purely from
I'm going to read some of them, and then because I know for me, owning any army in those games, the play style does matter.
Mm-hmm.
for me. Spook. Also, you're mispronouncing the word Zader, Zatar. See, I say Zatar, so I'll mispronounce everything, my friend. Yeah. He says, but it's fine since it incorporates a letter that I doubt you'd be able to pronounce even after a year of trying. And I would take that bet because you're right.
That was always one of the more frustrating parts of teaching. So learning those names in the first week of school. Like you're saying your name is pronounced one way, but it is not how it's spelled. And I guess if letters no longer have any meaning, then I guess that can be how it's spelled. We'll say it however you want, but
I'm bad with that. That's one thing now I'm bad with is names. Maybe that's like the first sign your mental acuity is going.
I guess I'm doomed.
And I don't like it because it almost comes off as like disrespectful. Like, hey, you don't remember someone's name, but it's like,
Yeah, it's totally not about you. Like you tell me your name, I have forgotten it by the time you finish the sentence.
No, for real. That's why I won't even ask and stuff a lot of times because like, dude, I will be. And online too, like I'll remember a lot more now. Like after I interact with a whole bunch of people, and you do it a bunch of times. But I hate when you like been talking to someone for like a year and then you're like, oh wait, what was your name?
And then there's only so much space in my hard drive.
Yeah.
So by the end of the year, I kind of do like a memory dump of all those names, like 150 kids every year. And then when you see them rocking in the hallway the next year, they hey, mister.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how you doing?
Good to see you.
There's always going to be like those dozen or so kids you definitely are never going to forget their name, but a lot of the others, their faces mesh into the others over time. And like go to the high school graduations for some of these kids, and they change so much from the time I saw them in middle school. Like, holy cow, you grew like a foot and a half.
Everything changes, yeah.
Yeah. Especially the guys just look completely different. It was always fun, kind of walking around in the community, and you run across that former student. Hey, how you doing? Like, I have no idea who you are. You don't look like anybody I've ever taught.
Oh, and thanks.
Yeah, don't you remember me? I was in your class 6 years ago. Like, okay, I don't remember anything from 6 years ago.
No doubt, I know. And Spook said one of your streams got recommended to me a few weeks back. I've been here a few times. Thank you very much for making it. But now the only problem is I'm going to see Spook's name, and every time I see him from now on, I'm going to think of the bread, and I'm going to want the Zatar, but pronounced right. And then so now I'm going to be burdened with that. I'll see Spook show up, and all my mouth will water, and I'll think of getting some of that bread, and yeah.
At least you're associating it with something good.
Yeah, well, I know
it's good for Spooks.
It's good, but it's disappointing because I can't have it, so I don't know how I feel about this.
I think this is going to work.
If you can pull it off, it's looking good. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't know how the black crystals would work on it, but you convinced me.
I think once I got the edging on them, they'll pop even more.
Like, yeah, because it's popping off his body now, So I was like, okay, cool, because me. And it's probably because I do the digital side. I'd always be like, hey, put the crystals and then glow. You know what I mean?
The other route I was thinking of going was more like a red. So it'd be kind of a reddish rock, maybe a sandstone, and then do rubies. That would look cool. If I were to do another one, I'd probably do it like that. Redstones.
No, I like it. I like it because it's different and it fits because it is the onyx type looking thing, I think it'll be cool when you put make it shine.
Yeah, the gloss. I've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
it
'Cause that'll.
before with the rot gut Trogoths
That's why I think
from.
it's a cool mix because you can have the gloss and then you can have a super dull rock with it. I think that's a great design choice.
And I'll drop when I add that first coat, I'll do a dull coat across the whole thing, and then I'll go over it again with the gloss. So the rock will be extremely dull, and then the black will pop. It'll look good. So right now, it kind of looks like grape chocolate chip ice cream here. Ice cream.
They don't really make a grape ice cream, do they? I mean, I'm sure someone did, but never been a.
Actually, it sounds kind of good.
Wait, that's it. Yeah, I don't really. I don't. I know there's been some or whatever, but you don't really ever see a grape ice cream. I guess you see an orange sherbet.
Grape popsicles.
Yeah, yeah. You see grape popsicles. You never see a grape. Not never, but I hope this shipping stuff returns back to semi-normal. I want to get some stuff and send it out to Lee, like some local kind of snack type things. You know what I mean? Like the staples or whatever, and send some out to Lee over in the UK to try on the stream.
I need someone from Canada to send me mint Kit Kats. They've got the dark mint here.
I
They've
had
got
the
the dark
lemon lime
chocolate
ones or the key lime.
Oh, God. Last time I was up there in Canada, I bought, I think, 6 or 7 of the big king size ones. So it's just regular milk chocolate mint, and it's so delicious. And they don't sell them down here in the States. They just sell the dark chocolate ones.
That's funny.
Killing me, Smalls.
I want. Oh, in it. And I'm close to Canada, right? But you can't go right. I hadn't had. I mean, okay, there's some places around here that'll do poutine, but it's not like in Canada, and Canada's only a little bit away. So I was all getting ready, and I'm like, oh, I told a friend, I'm like, hey, let's go drive. We'll go into Canada a little ways, and it's like, I don't know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and we'll go to this place. It's Dave's Poutine, and Dave's had such amazing poutine when I was there. It sucks that stuff is like 10,000 calories per bite, but God, I love that stuff. And was just gonna get ready to go there, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and then it's still like what
It's still locked down.
yeah, like important personnel or business. You know what I mean? You have to have a real reason to travel, even though there is a real reason to go get poutine.
As
Dude,
good
it's
as any
legit,
other reason.
bro. I need some poutine, man.
I've seen some news reports about people who own houses up there and can't get across the border
Yeah.
to get to their house.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Because I didn't even think about that. Because yeah, there's quite a few of that would be around on this way because it's just kind of across the water and everything. So dang, yeah, I didn't even think about that. But you're right. Spook says, I do not like mint with anything. It tastes like eating toothpaste with whatever I'm eating. Yes, and I can see that because that's often how it is for me. It's like, oh, I'll have a nice steak with some toothpaste on it. Or, oh, yo, what? I was surprised. You know what one got me that I couldn't believe I liked is, what was it, like a mint chutney that they kind of serve with, I don't know if it was a chutney is the right word. No, it was just a jelly, but with lamb. Oh my God, though, that was so good with that lamb. That was the one time like a mint scooted by, and I liked it.
Each year during the holidays, I'll make chocolate chip cookies, but just use mint chips, and they give them out to like friends and coworkers and stuff. And it's usually a huge hit. They don't sell mint chips around here all year long. It's just a Christmas thing.
Axe asks, "Are we keep?" Axe says we because he's from Canada. Are we keeping you out, or is your government stopping you from coming in? Axe, you are keeping me out.
Impersonally.
Yeah.
You.
I don't know why you were doing it to me.
It was weird because the report I was reading said both sides seem to have no idea why or how to remove the blocks that they put into place.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who's in charge of determining if the border opens? I don't know. It's not my job. And it's not my job. Like,
What?
okay, we'll
The
just leave
one
it
that just made
closed.
me laugh. So, like there'll be if the border's locked down, right, or whatever version it is. I'm sure it's probably half closed either way, but. And then on each side, it'll be like, okay, borders closed. You can't be doing it because of spread of virus. And then like we have Lollapalooza going on, which is just like this huge fest. And so I was like, what is it? Like you're like, everybody's probably partying on both sides, but yeah, it's like you can't cross.
I love the bureaucracy.
I just want some poutine, y'all.
Just one arm left here. Crystals to find. He's got them all over the place. Technically, I should do a second coat.
Now I want Dave's poutine. Now I want Swedish Middle Eastern poutine.
I'm getting a bit specialized there.
It's a very niche market.
A buddy who has been friends with him since fifth grade, and he's got Polish. He's from a Polish family, and they do lots of community building stuff.
Yeah.
Since they're first and second generation, and so getting to go to the Polish Hall in Seattle and having the genuine Polish food.
Yeah.
Delicious pierogies and borscht and pierogi, sorts of delicious food. That's good times.
X says, I'm pretty sure. Oh, you got a poutineery down the road?
How are you still alive? How many calories do you consume a day? 50,000.
I laughed because I ordered at
close to good
Dave's,
food.
and it was when I was like, I was just paying attention to like calories, and I looked, and it was like, seriously, I think one of them was close to like 2,000 calories. Like all I want, I'm like, dude, that is like more than enough for the whole day in this little plate. And it's like so sad because I'm like, oh yeah, I could have pounded down 2 of those.
Yeah, putting calories on menus really sucked the fun out of eating out.
It didn't suck the fun until I started paying attention to them.
I'm gonna eat this. I've had this thing 50 times over the years. It's how many calories? Holy cow!
Yeah, no doubt.
There's a place on Aurora in Seattle that's near the University of Washington called Beth's Cafe. And it's kind of this famous joint for kids to go study in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And so we'd go down there like 2 a.m. and get their big. They have these. You can get a 6-egg omelet, or you can get a 12-egg omelet, and unlimited hash browns. And so people would order the 12-egg omelet and just eat that and hash browns until until
Yeah.
morning, and you have to go take your final, filled up with cholesterol and good
Yeah, that's
times.
probably what you. Yeah, you'd be all lethargic and
12 eggs worth of
yeah.
omelet in your stomach.
Spook poutine is it's French fries, often double fried, so they're like usually like really crisp. At least the way Dave's Poutineery in Canada does it, but they're double fried sometimes, so they're really crisp. And then they have cheese curds on them, so it has cheese and then like a brown gravy over all that. So health food, basically.
Took this thing, fried it, then fried it again,
Yeah,
and fried it a third time.
that's why I'm glad that that's a Canadian one because then at least like America didn't make every bad food. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, someone else made a bad food. And it's called poutine. It'll kill you.
I think I'm gonna make the stone green. So he's got this little gemstone in his stomach. I think I'm gonna make it green to
Oh yeah.
make it stand out. Scale color green and purple will go well together.
Yeah, American breakfasts are nuts. Yeah, they do. There are some. They usually do have a lot. I'm not that much of a It's weird. I am more now sometimes. Like usually breakfast, I try to do like a light meal. Like in traditionally, if I had something, maybe I'd have like a banana. Like I'd usually have like a banana and coffee, and then like that's it for like sometimes like a muffin. But these days, I even try to stay away from that. You know, you'd have like a banana, a muffin, and coffee, and then it's like okay, it'd be good to like 10:30, 11 or something.
I typically skip breakfast just to.
Like today, I went out to get it. I was like, all right, you know what? I golfed yesterday. For some reason, I was hungry this morning. I'm like, it was probably like 9. I was like, fine, I'm gonna go. Actually, go. I got a ham and cheese omelet and some rice. I changed that. Like the places around here, they'll they'll substitute like your hash browns for rice, and so that it's a little lighter on me. I dig it. And Andrew, thanks for making it. And send me a message on Instagram. I will get you that Discord link. Sorry, I didn't. Well, more productive on my end. I'm just sort of goofing around here. Brainstorming. Oh my gosh, we've been on 2 hours and 22 minutes.
Wow.
Holy cow! I guess we get.
Probably go get some lunch here.
Yeah, I know. We'll stop here in a second. Yeah, I can't. Spook. That's the thing. When you eat a lot of like natural stuff yourself, and then you go and switch to some crazy processed, grease bomb thing, it is it's not that appealing. It's just like for me, when I stop drinking soda and then I don't have anything, I go drink. I was like, whoa, what is this? Oh yeah, eggs. Why do you make me think about food? I love eggs, English muffins, and hash browns smothered in a hollandaise sauce.
Mm.
I like. Was it eggs Benedict? Sometimes, yeah, I like it eggs Benedict.
I like it when they just have the kind of mixture of everything. Like here's your hash browns with your eggs in it, and we put through mozzarella cheese on top. And
Like a skillet.
probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just throw it all in one pan.
They don't have any, like, there's no such thing around here as like an Asian breakfast joint. They don't really have specific. I don't know. I have to. Huh. This is kind of interesting. Well, I guess we've been doing this 2.5 hours, so you might want to go eat, and I probably should have some dinner too soon.
Sounds like a plan. That was fun. Kind of
Thanks.
tunnel visioned
Yeah,
it
it's
there
good.
and
Thanks
just
for joining us, Andrew.
painted, but
Axe, appreciate you stopping by, all. And
yeah, it was fun.
have fun, and I will see you later. Let me hit some off buttons here. Hang on. Hang on. Let's hear and end stream. You know, we said dim sum breakfast. Yeah, dim sum breakfast.